Championship finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
That's right. Thank you to our sponsors. We are in the middle of the best of three between Expert as well as Ballistix, our previous BlizzCon champions from last year. Granted, with a couple of different players this time. Kaldar, you know Expert well in this situation, being down the first game, especially on Tomb. Do you believe that we're going to be looking at a first pick situation, or you think they'll make sure to get their own battleground?
It's actually a really good question, and I can't really give you an answer since they've done both in the past. So traditionally in Europe, you would expect the first pick to be taken. But if there is a team out within the top three that would get over and say, okay, we want to play a particular battleground, it's them. Now for me, also why the question is interesting is, what does Expert want from the group? Are they willing to concede, hey, Ballistix is so strong, they are going to take the first seed and we are fighting for second seed here? Then they might not be willing to, for example, show a draft specifically designed for a particular map and wait for a later game to use that. So I would probably expect them more to head into the first pick here, which is a little bit more traditional. But overall, they could do both. They have a couple of drafts prepared for most maps.
Grubby, we've been talking a lot about the tournament meta. Has there been any big surprises for you meta-wise?
Well, we thought it was going to be all double support. I mean, if you read Reddit, and some people do, it's like, oh, double support, it's everywhere. But we're not drowning in it, really. There are single support comps, and they are working just fine. For me, that's one surprise. And yeah, for the rest, I think it's, you know, there are small surprises, but I think the biggest one really was from your country mates, Roll20, Diva, Sergeant Hammer.
Oh, well, why, thank you. I'll also take that and run with it.
And nearly won against Team Dignitas with it as well. So, you know, these Diva picks, these have been really cool. Love to see more of that.
Well, before we get into, I want to hear you guys too and what you're thinking of the meta, but let's check in with the Battleground pool and see where we're going for Game 2 between Ballistix and Expert. Ballistix choosing Dragonshire. And this has been a favored battleground for all of our Korean teams here at the HGC Finals. That does mean that Expert chose first pick. Skimmy, any surprises for you meta-wise this event so far?
I mean, it seems a little bit reminiscent of what we've seen going from these clashes into this event here, where if you are going to go that single support, you're going to patch it with a specialist, be it Medivh, be it Abathur, to try and complement it and sort of follow that typical style of the hyper-carry aggression that we've come to grow quite used to. But I think really for me, it's the resurgence, really, I suppose, of the Brightwing, the Karazim. EU learned about it, I suppose, with their time over in Korea, and Korea showing that, hey, we don't need to necessarily use this, but more so kind of like the hashing of that attempt that Fnatic did, where they just ran the solo Brightwing and saying, look, we're going to try and hide as many cards as possible.
Also, very small specialist count. Abathur sees some play. I think he's been played about 6 times so far in the tournament. Medivh has seen a little bit of play, even more bans, but we don't really see the ranged stuff throwers like Osmodan, Zagara, and Nazeebo. Yeah, Sergeant Hammer.
Was some hammer time. The funny thing was when at some point China was also extremely confused about the lack of double support, so they were trying to go for triple support so that we average out on 2 again. But
gotta keep those numbers up.
Well.
I know you only get away with that when you're L5 versus MVP Black. Here we go, Game 2, Ballistix up 1-0 in this best of 3 as we kick things off on Dragonshire with Team Expert having first pick, first ban.
Now again, in theory, this should not take all too long. I mean, the only new information that Expert has to digest is the previous game. And it was very smart drafting pattern by Ballistix, but the picks themselves couldn't surprise too much. So a much quicker pick this time around by Team Expert, gonna be removing Genji.
The thing for me really is that when you talk about the speed of picks and bans, I, in probably any case, would agree with you. This is the one exception. AD already has a mind of his own,
games,
and nobody really knows how it works. And so when you watch scrims with them, sometimes the bans and picks, it's just absolutely crazy what happens. And you look at this like, was that a misclick? Because afterwards they oftentimes correct wrong picks and say like, yeah, we ran out of time, but we want to scrim this. And yeah, Expert is definitely a case of their own. So usually he has a very good grasp of what he wants to play, but I think it figures really also into this, how much do we really already want to show? Because for many people, this is the real group of death, so it's going to be really hard. All 4 teams with a bit of luck could make it out.
That's true.
I like the adaptation already by them to say, look, last draft it was pretty rough for us. We're going to go for the Tesla this time around. Let's see what Ballistix want to go for. Wouldn't be too surprised, or wouldn't be too opposed, I suppose, really, if they just went for the Oriole as well as the Vala in this rotation, even just the Sonya to guarantee a strong solo laner.
Yeah, I don't think Vala Ariel is like the best opening anymore, but if any team could do it, it would definitely be Ballistix with SCSC on Vala. For now, it's going to be Merdin and Rhaegar.
I like the Meridian pick a lot, especially since the control that we saw through Meridian on the last map was absolutely fantastic. I really loved the way that every play that Team Expert was trying to do was shut down by Meridian, so that was exceptional. We talk about how strong he is, and Ballistic showcases that from game to game, so I think this is a fantastic pick for them.
Merdin and Rhaegar have done great today. Just to combine the first 3 days plus today, Merdin's win rate is 17 wins, 12 losses. That's a lot of picks and a pretty decent win rate. Rhaegar is 17 wins and 9 losses.
Yeah.
Definitely the top emerging picks of the tournament.
It's really interesting to see Rhaegar be so high in win rate and pick rate, considering when his change came in, the redistribution of his healing numbers. Everyone was like, ah, Rhaegar's dead, there's no way, he's just a walking ancestral healing, and yet...
It's almost like everyone has a knee-jerk reaction to any change. Change is bad, change is bad.
But I feel as if people almost forget, you know, the reason you want to go for the Rhaegar, right? The kit just does everything. You've got the wave clear, you've got the sieging potential, you've got the potential to be a very strong four-man, rotations, even camp clear, right? So why would you not want to pick that Rhaegar?
I feel the changes would have probably had a bigger impact on his pick rate if it wasn't for the double support. If we don't, like, we've seen a little bit less here, but overall, oftentimes you complement a healer with a second, get some utility in, and then you can play around it if you feel that Rhaegar doesn't offer as much as you really want here. But oftentimes teams these days also go in an ETC, take Proc Rock, try to get a little bit healing out of that, play with the Tyrael. And you know, actually coming back to your question earlier about meta, I expect the Tyrael to be picked way more than he is picked. We have seen him, but not nearly as much as I expected from Korea and China.
And Ballistix, in one of their matches against MVP Black recently, the one they lost 3-1, they went Tyrael 4 times in a row. They won the first one, but Black was going for a very funny triple support comp on Cursed Hollow in HGC Korea. And that was 4 times in a row Tyrael, so definitely Ballistix has the recent playing experience with it. They just don't see the situation yet, apparently.
Well, for them, Ballistix, both of the warrior players can play, or both of the melee players can play him, so that does give them some flexibility with that too, but it does seem like Jungha is the better of the two when it comes to Tyrael, so maybe it is that if they're going to be sticking with more of a single warrior, double support style strategy, then that is what they want to do, is have Hooligan on a more comfortable hero.
And there it is. Yeah, the priority for the Valario isn't going to be in that first rotation, but I mean, like you say there, Grubby, if any team can do it, this will be them, and I mean, you give SCSC the resources and they'll single-handedly do what needs to be done.
Very stable composition again by Ballistix, double support, utility from Rhaegar and Ariel, Vala, Merdin. I mean, this just looks really solid. And this is something that we've seen Korean players do often against European players, not just in Heroes of the Storm, but StarCraft 2 as well. Play something that is just extremely well-rounded with the core belief that they will execute better.
And right now, of course, we are just asking ourselves what's going to be the carry, the hyper carry here for Team Expert on the side of Nick. What is Benny going to choose on the front line? For Ballistix, as you said, Grubby, it's a very quick draft that we have here so far. And the double support Vala, we've seen that mid-season brawl. It has been dominant on this map in particular, especially when you looked at China. So now we could see that triple bot lane once again with a pressure play, trying to push through that. Expert, they have a lot of comfort picks already, with Sonya at the top going to be played by Tyrael. Then we have Cassia now in play. And we get our Tyrael, not on the side of Korea or China, but Europe at this point just says, you know what, Bad Benny, we're going to go straight in with the Tyrael, going to use that sanctification, engage with Sonya and Cassia, and try to bring the fight straight up to Ballistix.
So Team Expert has one of those really cool mass protection comps. Double support, Cassia with blinds, and a lot of armor when she moves, and Tyrael with shields and sanctification. It's the 4 protectors. And then you've got Sonya, who from level 16 onwards gets a lot of extra health and protection as well. A very survivable comp, but maybe not the ideal map for it on Dragonshire, as there is a lot of splitting to make the objective work for you. So this comp would do fantastic on Warhead Junction, for instance, where you group up a lot. Here, well, Team Expert will have to be creative and patient, as Tyrael pre-10 is a little bit less than a warrior.
I'm just wondering the direction now that Ballistix go for this 5th and final pick for Jungha. I wonder if they're going to go for the Dahaka, make sure that they have the Brush Stalk available to try and really solidify their dominance in that bottom lane, and that is where they will go for. I mean, typically speaking, this is what we got used to, right, with the Valorial. You just absolutely dominate the bot lane, Cassia or not. You, on the side of Expert, now have to try and find value in the mid lane, in the top lane, and I mean, that can come from the sort of the Sonya, Brightwing polybomb, so to speak, that we've been discussing, right? If we're not going to win one lane, we need to at least try and find some value in a side lane or elsewhere.
I feel like if both teams were rolling for an RPG character sheet, every time you see Ballistix spreading their points very evenly among all the different attributes and characteristics, whereas last game Expert was very much about poke and burst, and this time they're very much about protection. So a lot stronger statement of direction by Expert in both games, and with the Ballistix being a lot more standard and stable.
Caldor, you said that there were a lot of comfort picks in the first few picks that we saw for Expert. Now adding in the Cassia Interior, what are your thoughts on that?
I like the picks for them. I like the idea where they're going with this. Then again, I have to agree with Grubby that I would have expected it more so maybe on Cursed Hollow. Grubby mentioned Warhead, which is also a good map for it. So that's something that where they have to play around it. But I still like that they want to be aggressive here. And again, Ethereal excels on Sonya. ADRD has played a ton of Tassadar. Curson has single-handedly destroyed teams with his Brightwing play. So I like the way they're going with this. I still have to say that I see Ballistix just as the stronger team overall here, and they have shown it on map number 1. And I also like what they are doing. It's very clean, very standard, but with the execution level that we expect from a Korean team of that caliber, I would still give the edge to Ballistix here.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to amplify that point even further, right? They've got their cookie cutter, as we've coined it, composition. They've shown the execution is there. It's just a matter of playing it now and saying, look, we're going to go for that 2-0. We don't really know the sort of mentality that Expert are going into this one. Are they looking to try and hide strats? Are they looking to say, look, we're probably going to verse, you know, Ballistix later on into this one, so why not like try and hide what we need? We can just cruise through on second seed. A lot left to be questioned.
Well, there are a lot of fans there for Expert, so let's see if with this protection style composition they can pull out a win and take us to game 3. Over to you, Caleris and Wolf.
Seemed like it's the composition that we were hoping for in that transition from game number 1 to 2, getting themselves a longer team fight, looking to just be able to hold down.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how Ballistix played this. I agree with what Grubby was saying, kind of putting 1 point into every attribute. I think the last pick, the reason why they held it so long was they were thinking, okay, they picked Tyrael. Will those tanks be good enough to stop our Malthael play? Do we still want to lock it in to dominate lane against Sonya? They decided to take the safer in terms of team fighting Dahaka, but it does give Sonya the opportunity to dominate that top lane.
It definitely does. All right, we're going to be launching into this map in just a few moments' time here. Dragonshire to see if Team Expert can bring this back. But Ballistix, of course, going to put a lot in the hands of SC on that Valor as he's ever so strong on it.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see what he can do. This time he's going to have more pressure on him as he is the solo DPS coming into this one versus last time he had Greymane to back him up. We had Jungha flexing into that one with SDE on the Tassadar. It's going to be a little bit different this time as we head into Dragonshire. This is historically one of the better maps for Team Ballistix, aka L5 in HGC Korea, so they'll be spawning here on the blue side. And I was talking about compositions here. I feel like Team Expert countered a lot of the stuff that Ballistix was trying to do in the draft. They got the early Sonya pick. You and I were talking about that.
Yeah.
They got this double support that allows the more aggressive play from Cassia, as Caldor was kind of alluding to. And they have this safe fallback with the Tyrael. They have a lot more opportunities to fight directly instead of just kind of hiding and defending in the last set.
I mean, when the draft was going on, we were discussing how, you know, Expert might approach it. I was saying Sonya first pick would be good, but they alleviated a lot of the concerns I had by just taking the Tassadar themselves.
Yeah. And, you know, the Tassadar, you take it like that, you have the opportunity to switch into like a Tracer pick. It's just such a great first pick, and that's why we see it so often in the Korean region and the European region, picked up very early. So this early game is just going to be a little trade in the mid lane, but we're going to see a very quick rotation of Sonya and Dahaka up. You can see them both racing to the top lane right now, and it's going to be a tough matchup for the Dahaka, obviously, but it can be one where you can outskill the Sonya. It's just very difficult, and that's not Jungha's playstyle. He's more known for playing safe. So what sometimes you'll see Korean teams do is rotate up the secondary support, and right now you can see that's already scouted. Bad Benny knew that was the likelihood, so came up there as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a good option here for Ballistix since they do have such strong supports, and Athero is going to require Brightwing to come up here. He's actually going to launch himself forwards on towards Jungha. But Jungha should be fine. Athero just backs off for now and gets some heal up.
This is actually a really cool matchup. We don't really get to see Athero versus Jungha all too often in a solo lane matchup like this, a Europe versus Korea. And
Yeah.
I feel like both the Europe versus Korea series we've seen so far in this tournament have been fantastic. Gonna see an early Unleash attempt here for Ballistix. Good zoning, but with Kirsten coming over now, I don't think this is going to be possible. However, are running over here. Squat is real in the top lane. They couldn't steal it there, and a very early Dragonite, 1 minute and 35 seconds into the game.
Doesn't bode well just at the moment for Team Expert at all, as Bad Benny had a lot of faith in ADRD to initially get that interrupt as he'd throw that Eldruin Smite forwards, but he didn't opt to send himself forwards because there was a lot of pressure on him there.
Yeah, and you know, that's exactly right, because in the top lane where Sonya was putting the pressure onto Dahaka, he just had to live for long enough to hold it. They lost control of the bot lane when we saw that teleport from Curson up to the top there during that exchange in the top lane. So Ballistix is controlling the rotations there, and had we seen the commitment of Terry Lin, might have been a different situation, but since he didn't, you know, Dahaka was able to buy enough time there.
I mean, there's always the potentially dies, right? And then that's not going to bode well at all. Never mind beforehand, but SCSC under some pressure, not too much at all though. He has SDE there to help out.
And against this caster, I think the Q build we're seeing from him here is very warranted for the single target damage. Thorough getting bullied up here in lane. Curson's going to teleport up once more. And notice how Swoi and Jungha are very willing to just go away in moments like this, despite the fact they could have tried to force a kill. Just not worth it.
This is becoming an issue though, because they are severely losing this lane at Team Expert against the Rehgar Dahaka. So that control has been so strong by Ballistix that you think Expert was getting value in other lanes because of the two-man so heavily dedicated, but they haven't.
You haven't, because Curson has been teleporting away from said lanes, which is what allows, as you can see on the minimap of the bot lane, this heavy amount of pressure, because Brightwing just simply isn't down there. Grabbing this cap was very smart, because with a Cassia or Tassar, you can clear it very quickly. It's going to put that pressure away. But unfortunately, with the timing of the second cap being taken for Ballistix, they can clear it, and it'll be more time with the next Shrine phase.
I was wondering with that the reveal that Tassadar is able to provide there, if they were going to invade that camp, because the situation was getting a bit severe in the early game. It's not, you know, unwinnable, I'm not saying that by any means, but you want this giant camp to get value. It didn't. Where else do you try and find value? Maybe with a camp invade, but they don't go for that as well. So Expert's playing this pretty passively.
Yeah, and, you know, as you can see, the top lane with the huge wave up there, Sonya is having problems, you know, and this is an issue. It allows Dahaka to slow rotate down. He's not going to brush talk to mid, which gives more control to the lanes. This is a bold move to try to take this neutral bruiser cap. Let's see it with the rotation of Dahaka in, though. They could maybe try to force it. Only one minion died down there, and in fact, Rehgar is still attempting it. I think Expert is just simply going to have to let it go because of the wave clear here.
Bold was a good way to describe this. Swoi's come back, so... But the thing is that now Muradin, etc., 3 members in that lane, they've established enough of like a parameter around that so that they can claim that quite handedly, so it's okay. But he's got to be careful about maybe being punished on the way out. It's very low.
Indeed, and once that is revealed, I think Expert is going to try to collapse. He just instantly hearts.
Smart move. Walking out could be dangerous if Expert then decided, no, we're actually going to push that 3-man hard to see where Rehgar's going.
You're absolutely right. When we talk about winning lanes in this, in Here's the Storm, we don't mean it in the sense of you won this lane, the lane is over. It means that you have vision control, you have minion control of areas like this, so it's tough for Expert to stop things like this. Not like they weren't aware, it's just very difficult to go in there and stop, but it wasn't 100% awareness from them.
Hooligan. Here he comes, gonna look for that lockdown, and it was a good one onto Brightwing. Not only the bolt, but also the tongue drag. Very nicely done.
So this is gonna shut down the potential unleash here for Expert. The Ballistix is just 1 level ahead with the structural damage. The single kill we're looking at here 5 minutes into the game.
And the thing is that first blood came effortlessly for Ballistix.
Just very well coordinated, and you know, Brightwing just had no way out of there. So he's going to look to grab this. They're going to have the squat, and with Brightwing being able to port in here, this needs to be taken ASAPly. They will. Had they not been able to, might have been able to see SC hold it for a moment. Kind of an odd situation in mid. You could see Murden's on the opposite side of Bad Benny here, just trying to bait a rotation up, I think, but he might get punished for it here. Looks like he does understand he has the Dwarf Toss there and would have had Avatar if things got really dicey.
Still the pressure against Sonya continues towards the top. Here comes an attempt maybe onto Dragon Knight in a few moments, but it will be a little bit difficult. The 2-2 at the moment will not subside in the mid. But Rehgar and Muradin are winning this out. It feels like, once again, the sustain game is going over in this early game, especially to Ballistix.
Sonya's very low. Up there in the top lane, I believe, just barely escapes, but it's a close call up there. Kind of a trade going on as Daka will take control. Kirsten is going to rotate down. Looks like I misread that actually Sonya wasn't low. Oh, fake news, but the throws, as he is in fact not low, is going to get collapsed upon here.
Might be low in a second.
He's low here now.
Oh,
there's the 10.
They're going to keep pursuing you, and they will take him down there with that bite coming in, as well as Muradin getting the last hit. Very well done by Ballistix to punish that attempt rotation.
So I wonder if, you know, we saw Brightwing not even lock in the Emerald Wind in that moment. I wonder if it would have been worth it to try to save him with, you know, the Emerald Wind.
Right.
Risky, might have died anyways, so I can respect Kirsten's choice here to let this go. We're still at small death timers. The problem being that this is almost certainly an unleash, right? Both channeling now to mid. SC casually walks over. ADRD can slow it, but they're taking a camp at the same time, so I don't think they can stop this.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult, and it will go down. Next Dragon Knight in the favor here of Ballistix.
Oddly, we have Force Wall coming in here as well for ADRD, so looking to dominate the battlefield in that way. It does work well with the Emerald Wind. You can isolate a lot of targets, and then Cassia and Sonya can go ham, as they say, on said targets. But with a player like SC whose positioning is so good, you're going to be hard-pressed to make that happen. Here's a potential Emerald Wind bomb coming through.
Trying for it, and the damage dealers, meanwhile, though, where is Sonya coming in? Trying to put some pressure on against Hooligan.
So low, does get healed up here. He's going to get taken down, though. Great collapse. We talked about good positioning, and that was certainly not it. Good punish here from Team Expert. SDE going to try to make this a trade. Not going to happen, but at the same time, the Dragon Knight is finding damage mid.
And Vala's the main component. Vala is the foundation of Ballistix strategy. If she dies, everything else from the bottom up does crumble. So that's a good pick off for them. As you said, Ballistix was just kind of more focusing on the Dragon Knight actually doing something and anything else. So Expert caught Ballistix with the pants down, basically.
Yeah, that was really well done. It does minimize what this Dragon Knight will be able to get done. Mid fort's down. The keep wall, I think, took minimal damage at best. So it's not like this is a big, lost a cannon tower only. Not like this is a play where Ballistix can threaten the keep or anything with their next Dragon Knight immediately, or walk down mid to punish it with heavy poke like they had on Tomb of the Spider Queens. Different caught, but we talk about SC's good positioning. I don't think he thought that Expert was going to react so well when he stepped over the boundaries there.
Serial Eldruin's max away. All is fine. Noticeably, like a slightly different variation. It's not different to the normal Western meta, because Reciprocate's so very common. But the level 7 that we saw from the Korean teams, Chinese teams, to be able to have speed off of that Eldrarune's might is actually very potent, and I really like seeing it. So much so that when I get home, I'm going to be doing that instead of Reciprocate.
I like it a lot. It gives you opportunities to, on this map especially, kind of delay Dragon Knights. You can chase down targets. You see a lot of late game on this map, and just gives you the ability to help slow those mounts, for example. This is a bit of a bait here by Ballistix. I don't think Kirsten is going to fall for it, though. I mean, when you're taking aggro from a fort like this, it feels too obvious. Kirsten knows their hero's missing at the moment.
He realizes that that fort is gone at that point. There was no way he'd be able to defend it from the next wave and the Dahaka with the Brightwing alone. So I think as much as, you could stay there and try and clean things up, it's a lost cause. Just leave it. Try and find something else on the map.
Exactly. They did try to find something else on the map. They tried to go for that invade on the blue side Siege Giants there. It didn't work out, but could have been an opportunity, whereas at the top he had nothing. SC, again, very aggressively positioned here. Benny going deep right now. Does have that Aldruins to escape, but he's so low. Has to sank, in fact. This is not the sank they wanted.
Sanctity still low as Hooligan looking for a Stormbot potentially, and will try and go on Nick, and that is going to be Nick falling there on the Cassia. If he goes down as he's moving against auto attacks, it's a bad time for Team Expert.
That was a bit of a choke move by Bad Benny to stay that long, and in that fight, perhaps a communication error as well at Expert. Maybe he thought that we were going to see a port into a Brightwing Emerald Wind to try to set up a fight there, but it just didn't happen.
All right, Brightwing just going to leave here. Doesn't
Hold.
Can hold this. Just got to go. No way you can really do much against Hooligan up in that top spot, especially if there's reinforcements with only 5v4 on the map.
So we talked about how this Dragon Knight can go directly to that slightly damaged keep wall. It wasn't completely taken out, so Expert has some time. But opposite to last game, they don't have a lot of poke in terms of defense. They're going to have Cassie has very limited poke, and Brightwing and Tastar. So this Dragon Knight, if they actually commit further mid, could get a key.
This was actually very clever, and I'll talk about it in a moment, but this is an assault on towards Ballistix here as Hooligan pops himself the avatar, keeps himself alive, and now Yongha joins the fight with the Dragon Knight. He intentionally didn't go far because he knew Expert was going to try and punish the 4-man down to the bottom while the Dragon Knight was
they
active.
wanted to 5-4. The Dragon Knight's not really a hero. There's a missing Dahaka in this battle right now. Bad Benny gets low. Good Emerald win here to help disengage. Zhenghe actually in a bit of an awkward spot here, just trying to kite back. Here comes the port. It's too late. Sank not up for 10. Zhenghe actually wants to go in and get a grab after this Dragon Knight is destroyed. Good dimensional shift here for ADRD. But even though they lost Tira, they lost Bad Benny there, I think that aggressive move at the end of the day actually saved their keep. And even though they lost a member for it and they fought down in talent tier, I absolutely think it was the right move for Expert.
It's a crazy little dynamic, right? They learned from their previous Dragon Knights, like, oh, we'll just go Dragon Knight mid. Oh, you're going to come around us 5 and like pick off one of our members, SCSC, the most important member. We're not going to go that far with the Dragon Knight. We're going to give you the opportunity if you want to fight, but there's going to be a Dragon Knight involved as well.
Yeah, if you lose your Dragon Knight, if you lose your team down in bot, the Dragon Knight gets a clear before you get a keep anyways. Your opponent catches up in experience. It's just not worth the risk there. Zhenghe's going to heavy invade onto Athero with that vulnerability there. Does have Burrow available, so Athero needs to be careful. Emerald Will's going to have to be used yet again defensively. Look what SC can do though. So much damage.
Very, very low at the moment. So is Athero in the midst of all things up towards the top. There goes Sanctification, helping him out at the moment. They capture themselves that hard camp while this fight is going on. Ancestral Heal lands, trying to look for Athero, but it looks like Brightwing to the top is in no man's land.
Oh man, Ballistix cut this team in half. Down goes Curse, and Athero is going to get knocked away here by Detainment Strike. This camp's going to help take out this wall. They won't get much more than this, but it's going to push them closer to 20. That fight really isolated Nick. He couldn't do damage. SC was doing free damage, and when the team got split in half, it was the end of the battle.
And that's been a common theme as they try and attack Swoy here, but Hooligan's coming in.
Yeah, very risky here. There's the counter pull. Sank is long on cooldown. Cassie goes down. Good Aegis. Will he get the kill?
Oh, Rigard falls, and that is going to be Athero trying to get out of that front as he was spinning to win, but no, the drag from Dahaka. Very well done.
Spin to lose in this case, but valiant effort there. But this is another wall down. This means Dahaka can pressure this if this game goes very late.
But that's been a common theme. You mentioned, that they divided Team Expert in that fight, and the front line has allowed them to do that. And it not only allowed them to do it in this game so far, but it allowed them to do it in last game as well, where they were able to just divide people against walls in between lanes and really kind of conquer small sections of Team Expert.
This is this kind of priority Ballistix is put on Hooligan's Muradin because it's really up to that big stun coming through. Dahaka comes in as well, uses his Dark Swarm to give the vulnerability there, so Team Expert's taking too much damage. Nick has to retreat, goes down, and maybe we'll have a replay of it later, but it's really brilliant what they're doing. When Expert gets aggressive, Ballistix knows how to respond after these force walls are going down. Speaking of force wall, I think it actually ends up being the right pick here. I think it's doing a lot for ADRD. But you do kind of feel the lack of damage, especially when these splits come through from Muradin.
And when you go into those choke points, it's very scary as someone like Athero, who wants to be near a lot of them, spinning and getting a lot of health, but there's Detainment Strike, there's Stormbolt, there's Drag, there's the Rain of Vengeance. Everything is halting Athero from progressing in this game.
Oh, certainly. Well, this looks like this Dragon Knight has been pretty burned down from all that Tastar side storming. Get a little bit of damage under the keep, but the bigger story here is the poke on the side of Ballistix with SC's Vala and these Siege Giants. Here comes a port in. Zhenghe is going to get de-knighted once again. Good Holy Ground attempt. There's the Force Wall. Hooligan easily has the sustain to get out, even if he didn't even need it, I should say there. But still, as it was last game, Expert keeps their keeps alive. And when keeps are still up, anything can happen in the late game.
Bit of an uncommon talent from Dahaka coming in. Burrowing Claws at that 16, so gives the opportunity for Zhenghe to just be moving about whenever he's going to be burrowed. So it's going to be even easier for him to position himself in a good spot when the Holy Ground comes down, when the wall comes down from top.
Exactly, I think that's exactly it. Seeing the commitment of Expert to terrain-changing talents here with that Force Wall. So he's going to go for it. Athero Angel is going to be the target here. Good Force Wall to keep everyone out. They're going to try to turn this onto Hooligan, but look at the damage coming through from SC. Even with this Hungering Arrow build, he's able to poke so much with his auto attacks and This keep, they're just sieging it up. Here comes the stun though. Thero is caught. They're going to try to turn it. Emerald Wind's still available here. Hooligan is going to get that heal.
Oh, as well as Crystal Aegis as well, so they keep him alive. Sanctification goes down, trying to put more pressure onto a Hooligan. Dwarf tosses away from that position. They don't want to be taking this fight. SC takes a lot of damage from that Poison Spear, as well as that smash coming out from Sonya.
All right, well, backing off, setting up for another minion wave. The goal here is the keep. Not necessarily going to be core, but Expert needs to make sure that they don't let anyone die. There's just no way they can defend the keep. Back off here, because if anyone dies, you're done. This series is over. You're going to the elimination match. Play it safe. That's one thing I think Expert has been doing fantastically throughout this series. It can still come back in the later game team fight. They can get that isolation, but I feel like Ballistix is doing so well at turning these fights when the force walls and holy grounds come down. But I think they need to rely on something else to start the fight. Maybe a Brightwing Bomb, a bigger play.
Yeah, that's kind of where, before pre-16, that's where a lot of the strength was for Ballistix. They were in chokes dividing and things like that, but now holy ground and things like that are, with the Brightwing Bomb potentially, are a thing in conjunction with the holy ground. If Expert gets 20, they then start to thrive a little bit more in those chokes and positions. Even though, you know, force wall's there, but Ballistix have done a great job negating.
I definitely see what you're saying, and it's unfortunate that these moments you have things like Rewind, which are so frustrating to deal with. Even if you have these terrain things, Doc has burrow movement, you have Hooligan with those Rewind that's available. This is a pretty sloppy engage here for Expert. If Thero's going to try to spin to win, as you call it here, to survive. Good spear here, but I don't like this. He gets caught and punished. SC gets the stun. Emerald Wind is way too late to save him. I think everybody might be dead in this movie because this looks like a push to core.
That was an execution. There was nothing more than that. Team Expert, I guess they felt like they had to take the fight, but Ballistix absolutely powered through. With 2 members down here, Experts in a bad spot.
Yeah, I mean, John could just walk back bot with a full health, 18-minute scaled Dragon Knight, start hitting the core. There's just nothing you can do. We've even got Siege Giants here to help clear this minion wave and start hitting the core. Nick, nice dodge there on the Storm Bolt. Don't think he'll be able to do much here. Trying to jump onto a very well-protected SC. Port comes through, safe ancestral, and Caleris. This just looks like the beginning of the end.
Yeah, absolutely. With that Dragon Knight marching on forwards as well here. Expert with trouble against Ballistix, but Ballistix has come to play here in the first series of the day. And if you judge mid-season brawl to this, L5 Ballistix, whatever you want to call them, is looking strong to start off day number 4.
That's right. Core goes down. They will take the series 2-0. Will advance to face Super Perfect team in the winners match to find out who is getting out of this group in first seed. But as you say, Ballistix looks to be in form. Feels reminiscent of last BlizzCon when he did take the title. Good control of the macro, good drafting. I think all fingers point towards Hooligan's burden as the MVP. SC is always going to be a good baller, but it's plays like what we saw from Hooligan and Jonga that allow him to do that safe damage.
They basically looked like the bulwark. They were so solid in all of their defense. Every time a team fight came in, every time a spear from Sonya was launched, they greeted it with open arms and said, not today. We're going to be able to deflect it super easy. But for now, we can head over to the analysis desk after game 2, a 2-0 for Ballistix.
Thank you, guys. Ballistix came in and said, well, you may have seen some good stuff in groups A, B, and C, but the best was yet to come in Group D, Skimmy.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen some fantastic games so far, but this is probably the most competitive group that we have, where all 4 teams are really able to actually try and take those first 2 spots to go towards BlizzCon. And I mean, specifically Ballistix, nothing flashy, nothing fancy. It's just plain execution with what we've seen them do traditionally as a roster.
I feel like we've been robbed a little, because this was supposed to be one of the anticipated matches that was going to be so close because Expert improved so much. They did look good, but Ballistix makes their opponents look almost chanceless, just like they've done in the tournaments that they've won. It just looked methodical, clean, and yeah, hopeless for the foes.
Final thoughts, Caldor?
I mean, when we're talking about Europe, there is still a gap between Dignitas, Fnatic, and Expert. And Ballistix, I feel, have shown what Tempest couldn't. There's the superior execution of builds. So they were clearly the better team here and deservedly take the victory. Would have loved the third map, no doubt about it. But Ballistix, I was the high favorite heading into the games, and they showed it.
Well, I'm looking forward to Ballistix versus SPT Korea versus China. But for now, let's head to the stage with Cloaken for an interview.
Thanks so much, Gilly. That's right. I'm here with SCSC, captain of Team Ballistix. Congratulations on a dominant win here in Group D. I've got to ask you, in Media Day, we spoke a bit. I asked you if you were feeling a bit of the pressure being the reigning BlizzCon champions, the return of the Ballistix sponsorship, and you said, not really. We have a different roster. We feel good. But now, with the departure of Tempest out of this tournament and NA advancing, are you feeling even more pressure to perform as a Korean team?
먼저 우승 축하드립니다. 그리고 사전 인터뷰 동안에요. 저희가 전 우승자로서 그리고 새롭게 블리스틱 스폰서 다시 구하셔가지고 대회 참여하셨는데 혹시 긴장감이나 압박감을 느끼시냐고 물어봤는데요. 긴장감이나 압박감이 없다고 하셨는데 최근에 이제 저번 경기에서 이제 템페스트가 이제 예선을 탈락하고 이제 NA 팀들이 많이 강세를 보이고 있는데 이거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시나요?
이번 대회가 NA가 개인적으로 제일 폼이 올라왔다고 생각해요. 그래서 C조에서 누가 떨어져도 이상하지 않은 상황이었는데 템페스트가 떨어졌던 것 같아요. 거기서.
He believes the NA team right now has the most potential in this series right now, and he says the Group C was actually a very strong group, and he didn't really know which one's gonna drop and which one's gonna win. So he wasn't quite surprised at all when NA actually went up and Tempest went down.
Gotcha. Now, SCSC, I got to ask you a personal question. I know you are known as one of the best Vola players in the world. What is it about that hero specifically that you enjoy playing and that makes you so effective on?
SCSC 선수는 지금 세계에서 발라를 가장 잘 다루는 선수로 사람들이 알고 있는데요. 혹시 발라 영웅을 선호하는 이유가 따로 특별히 있나요?
발라를 딱히 선호하는 이유는 없고 그냥 그 전에 발라가 좀 OP던 시절이 있었어요. 그래서 그때 연습을 좀 많이 해둬서 언제든지 뽑을 수 있게 된 것 같아요.
He doesn't actually prefer Vala that much compared to other heroes. It's just that there was a period when Vala was very OP and was very strong. So at that time, he just practiced Vala a lot and it just stuck to him, and he keeps using it since.
Got it. Okay, well, you're not quite in the clear yet for that BlizzCon position. You still got to battle through SPT in the winner's match. How do you plan to attack the team from China?
아직 중국 팀의 SP 팀이 남아 있는데요. 어떤 식으로 공략할 생각이신가요?
이번 블리즈컨 와서 중국이랑 연습을 한 번도 안 해봐서 스타일을 정확히 잘 모르긴 하는데 그냥 전 경기 보고 했는데 그냥 정석적으로 하면은 충분히 올라갈 수 있을 것 같아요.
During this tournament, he never actually played with the China team, and he doesn't exactly know what their play of style is. But he believes that if he just plays regularly as they practice, they'll probably beat him.
All right. Well, SCSC, I can't wait to see that match. Good luck. All the best in your preparations.